Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. And I want to talk about protecting the imagination. Protecting the imagination. Now this video gonna go a little deep because I don't think people quite understand how far this go. Now when you protecting the imagination, this is very serious. Because we know the imagination is essential to creating. The imagination is necessary for creating, especially when it comes to creating something new. The imagination is needed. So, a lot of y'all may open the doors and create possibilities for your imagination to get took from you, for someone else to take it and use it, for a spirit to come and use that as a body to be birthed in some type of way for an experience. And you know, it's all kind of ways that your imagination get attacked. Now this is how it gets attacked, by the words and the stuff that you use. So this is why it's important not to always try to logically understand what's going on with you from a right brain point of view, or with your imagination, or what's going on inside you. Sometimes that world is meant to just experience and express and not try to logically understand it. Because when you kick words and try to logically understand it, you kick barriers and you make firmaments and boundaries to the initial experience. So what happens here is when you block that realm with your words and what you say and things of that nature, the stuff that you say and what you think you're making sense out of it can be used as a vessel. That sound and those lights, those light bodies and situations can be used as vessels by spirits unseen, which is the spirit is unseen, for consciousness to use that as and a person who is high in spirit will be able to see your circumstance and situation and use that against you. So that's a person whose frequency vibrating high, but may got certain ideas on their own, and they can use you based upon your circumstance and situation and knowing how your outlook on things. So protecting your imagination goes deep, because listen, when you are constantly trying to logically and rationally understand what's going on with your imagination, then you become imaginative dry. And the spirit yearns for the imagination. So if you become a person that's always trying to decipher and logically give understanding to the imagination, and you're not expressing and living in the imagination and building on it, then what you're actually doing is creating a cell for yourself, creating a jail for yourself, and it's going to be hard for people to relate to you because you lack imagination. Because anytime an imagination is presented, you're trying to logically understand it, so you start to give it curves and lines and squares, and you put it in a box, because that's what the right brain is, round and shapeless and formless, and the left brain is direction and logic and the light. You see what I'm saying? So you would take what's in the dark, which is imagination, and try to create some logical firmament about it, so you don't truly experience it, and then you lack imagination on top of that. So then you will lack relativeness, and the spirit yearns for imagination, because imagination is part of creation. It's needed for creation. So if you lack imagination, you trying to logically understand everything that's going on in the imaginary world, or the unseen or unphysical, or wherever you want to call it, if you're too busy trying to logically understand this, then you're just too busy trying to put yourself in a esoteric box. And then what you do is you separate from all things that can be created. You separate yourself from all things that can take shape and form. This is why it's important you have to blend the two. It's important not to, every time you present your imagination, that it involves with some type of logic. Things don't make sense for a reason. This is how things become to make sense. It has to come from a realm of a collection of things that don't make sense. A collection of mixtures that don't go together. Because when they come together, it creates some new type of shit. Like Jay-Z just said in that mother, he said like Donald Trump is a superbug. You know what I'm saying? He don't quite know what he's saying, but he's basically saying this right here. So something is going to sustain itself. So for the most part, we need to understand how to protect our imagination. And then that's not tie too much logic words to it. Not try to create too many logical interferences with it. Not try to logically and rationally understand it all the time. And just understand it from an experience so you could go in that world and understand it from a universal language type of world. Then once you understand it from there, you're going to end up finding the right words to use in the logic world, in the left brain. And then these words that you use may not necessarily make sense to everybody who already done built firmaments and shit, and they already in their boxes and shit. But for the most part, in some way, shape, or form, they're going to understand what you're talking about because it's going to vibrate and resonate with them. So it can only play out in two ways. Either this person attack what you got going on, or this person would try to logically conflate or logically explain what you got going on. But it can either be one or the two. You see what I'm saying? So you have to understand when we're dealing with imagination, you have to keep your imagination sometimes sacred. So, and don't put yourself in because here's the thing, here's what can happen. You can end up learning something in a specific way. Then you got so much, and it could be a feeling. You got a bunch of doctors and stuff, they put feelings and give symptoms to people and shit. But for the most part, this is everyday life. You could learn something, right? And then you could put yourself in a logical box from what you have learned. And since creation needs imagination, what happens is you take all your imagination and create on that box, right? So you just make your jail cell bigger. You just make your jail cell more comfortable. You see what I'm saying? And then when other people try to tell you you in a jail cell, you're blind to the fact that you're in a jail cell, because the jail cell may seem like a luxury mansion to you because you done made it so big and got all the things that you wanted and took from other things and added in it that you feel like this is home. So anybody who come threaten you or try to take you out the comfortability of your home and tell you that that's actually a jail cell, you're going to look at them as crazy. You're going to be like, nah, I make the most sense. Look, my house is the biggest. What is you talking about? So this is where a person get lost in their own jail. Then opposed to the person that understands that you keep the spirit free. Spirit consciousness and imagination need to stay free. Therefore, it don't take no shape and form. So anytime it gets presented with a shape and form, is able to take that shape and form and able to get and hurdle over that and see a broader perspective other than that thing that been stuck in that shape and form and not been wanting to be moved out of that circumstance or situation. See what I'm saying? When something is shapeless and formless, it constantly wants to move like the universe. So it don't want to stay stuck in one type of shape and form. So this is what people get in their knowledge. This is how people get in the information that they're receiving. They get stuck in a shape and form of it. And they only built on that. Make that shape and form bigger. Add machinery to that. Make it, aka make it make sense. Where whatever they're saying is, really ain't. It's just like something. You see what I'm saying? So when you come from this perspective, this is how you're able to truly understand shit. Now, for the most part, keeping your imagination free, you're able to see when something is just a shape and form. And you're able to break it down to its most gaseous nature. Whatever it is. Whether it's somebody's idea that they done made concrete in their head. Whether it's somebody's way of expressing themselves or whatever. When you come from this perspective of shapeless and formless, you're able to melt that. Right? You're able to melt that down to the particle that it is because you're able to perceive it as the shape and form of what it is. Because you're not in any box. You didn't put any language or law or anything. You didn't correlate it. You didn't tie it to. You seen it for what it is. So when you see it for what it is a shape. Is a form. You see what I'm saying? So it is. That means the shape is that form of something. This is how you know what something is. By the shape and the form of it. So for the most part, this is how we correlate everything. Besides the spirits and the vessels that take it in, the spirits that take these things as vessels, we need to know what just these things is engineered out of. Shape and form. So concepts come to you as shapes and forms, circumstances and situations, people, places, and things, lights, sound, information. So when you put these things on your imagination, you put blockages on your imagination. Now, like I said, some of these things is good. Sometimes it's good to have some type of firmaments or some type of convictions, because this will block certain other rainbow waters or canopies into flooding into your stargates. AKA you experiencing somebody else's realm of reality or their world, based upon you absorbing yourself into their ideas or their feelings or the way they express themselves. You see what I'm saying? Now, it could play out like that to the point that you need some of these words, you need some of the left brain type attributes sometimes also to protect your imagination. But you're supposed to utilize those to protect your imagination. But a lot of y'all utilize these things, and these become the things that attack your imagination and take it from you to the point that you be scared to express your full potential of imagination. So then you'll witness someone else having the same thought you had, but end up witnessing praise and shit for it, where now you got to sit back and be like, I thought about that before. But you were scared based upon the cage that in an illusion that you put yourself in. And depending on how big that cage or ego or whatever it is that you concealed yourself into, the bigger it is, the more you're not going to perceive it. For an example, a nigga who stay in a jail cell or the rescue mission gonna see life way different than a nigga who stay in a mansion or a nigga who got a whole bunch of land and they think the outdoors and open is they belong in, but really is this their land. That's still a form of a cage, a form of a body. So, you know, one person gonna feel free, one is not. But is that truly the circumstance or situation? You see what I'm saying? Or is they both just experiencing different levels of the same shit? So blocking your imagination can go deep. You could be a person who think you know so much to the point that you got a big ass ring around your imagination. So you're not able to perceive anything from a small or large scale that's indifferent in your imagination. Therefore, the world that you create, you're in that pattern. You're in that rotation. You're creating the people, places, and things in the Sims simulation world of that imagination. So you're going to live in that. That's what you're going to live in. But no one else is going to live there. So you telling somebody else what they should or shouldn't do or whatever like that is kind of your world. You're just going to go to a world where you're going to continuously be telling the people that you create in that world what to do or what not to do. So you need to understand, if you're the type of person that you might got a bunch of family members around you and stuff like that, and you feel like you got a bunch of wisdom and knowledge, and you watch Archangel Uriel, and you feel like now you can look down on people and oppose them, nah, that's not what you're supposed to do. You got to let people live. Because everybody's spirit journey is different. Somebody's spirit's conscious awareness and how they view the world is very different than yours. So you throwing your world on them is not helping, it's hurting. That's why when people go to jail, sometimes jail hurt more than it helps. Because jail is somebody else's world outview and outlook and the things that they think a person needs to do in order to get rehabilitated. So when a person's spirit, it might be, now I ain't gonna say everybody's spirit, but some people may be spirits that don't need that type of experience. So it just make things worse when they go into that experience. You see what I'm saying? So we have to get on the path of understanding how to protect our imagination. Because protecting our imagination will even put us in circumstances where we can avoid a lot of situations and experiences. Because we know what we imagine. Now we got to get back to ourselves and protect our imagination and let our imagination be free. And don't conceal your imagination. For an example, you might be around a group of friends or family members that just around them, you don't even feel the necessary need to even explore or express what's on your imagination, what's in your inner realm. That's a hindrance already. That's a cage already. That's a box already. Now, I'm not saying to go cut off these people, places, or things, but what I'm saying is you need to correlate your life in some type of way where you can start gradually but shortly start to put yourself in circumstances and situations where you can be comfortable around these people to explore your imagination. And if you can never reach that point, then you might have to consider cutting people, places, and things off. But nothing is impossible. So if you really care about these people and you know that they don't know themselves or things of that nature, then it's your duty to gradually but surely create the experience for yourself where you can be free around these people. And if they got spirits inside them that attack you every time you do this and it don't allow you to do that, then that's when you reach the terms and conditions that you may have to look over that contract and may have to rip up that contract and be like, okay, yeah, I might have to separate. But you got to experience that first to know if that's what you have to do or not. So you can't be analyzing and using your brain for things that's not made here to do, which is analyze and think what's going to happen into the future and get upset and mad if it's not correlated to the way how you planned it out to be. But I'm going to cut this video. Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air. Protect your imagination.